Hello and welcome to episode number 7 of the Health One podcast. Today I am talking about all things spirituality, one of my favourite topics to talk about. Well, maybe outside of my work, one of my favourite topics to talk about, especially since coming to Bali, the land of spiritual haven. I have literally met some of the most amazing people and had some of the most amazing conversations and had the most amazing experiences while being here in Bali. That's why I am so fucking emotional leaving, very sad to be leaving, because I do feel like my journey here is unfinished. I do feel like there is more that I want to explore, and it's crazy how when I was younger, where I wanted to travel was based on like sun, sea, drinking, the usual holiday destinations, and now it's more about like where I'm drawn to, where I'm called to go to. Bali obviously, and Mexico is on the cards 100%, based on conversations I've had with people here and their journeys with spirituality and finding themselves, reconnecting with themselves, losing themselves, creating a new identity, and so on. Bit of an unscripted one today. I have a few things that I want to talk about, but I'm gonna really try let it flow. That's one of my tattoos. I have flow on my arm because I really do want to talk about today that we need to be in our flow state more often. We need to accept where we are in our current situation or what shit life is throwing at us, and not, like, I suppose, be resistant to it. Understanding that life has lessons, life has things that it throws our way. And again, I am going to be talking in a general sense today. I'm going to be talking about my own experience, my own beliefs. Take them or leave them. I don't want a debate of what's true, what's not true. I'm just giving you this conversation based on what I've learned over the last year and a half that has changed my life, like literally changed my life. And I know that there are shit things that happen in life. I'm not one of these naive little bitches that has toxic positivity written all over her forehead. I am just someone who is a deep thinker, someone who has connected with their spiritual side more and has found more magic in my life, has found more meaning in my life, has really felt more authentic and more like myself and more supported and guided than ever before. So that's why I'm sharing my journey today with spirituality, what I've learned along the way, and I'm going to try bring a little bit of the science and psychology into it as well, so it's not all airy fairy, because I know that it can be, I suppose, if this is something you haven't experienced, this is going to be difficult for you to listen to, but I just want you to be open-minded. So December 2020, that year, at the end of the year, oh my god, the emotions running through my body. I remember it was New Year's Eve and I looked out my attic window. One of my favourite things to do when I lived in my parents' house was to look out the attic window because I could just see Dublin and I could watch the sunset from there if it was in the right position. But I remember a few days before watching the sunset, and it was the most beautiful sunset, and just getting really emotional. I saw a plane in the sky and I just knew that I was going to be going on a plane soon. I just knew it was coming. I knew it was happening. I couldn't wait for it. And it was that gratitude, that manifestation, all wrapped into one. But on New Year's Eve, I remember it was literally like, oh my god, we made it. We made the end of the worst year of our lives. We literally have completed it. And I remember there was fireworks and people were screaming, kids were screaming, families were screaming, people were cheering, and I bawled my eyes out crying. I'm such a little emotional bitch. And I suppose in the previous episode I spoke about my mental health and how I would have suppressed emotions for years. I would have had my guard up. I wouldn't have wanted to be seen as weak. I wouldn't have wanted anyone to know what was going on in my internal world. What I have found is that actually by connecting with people, by us being more open, that we can actually support each other and move through the world without our ego. The world the way it's meant to be. We're meant to be humans connecting, and we're meant to be working to live, not living to work. We're not meant to be going about life in competition with one another. We're meant to be helping each other and being in a community element, and that's what I have found with living here in Bali, and that's why it's so hard for me to leave. But anyways, so at the end of 2020, I would have started to be more open-minded to spirituality, and I followed the Manifestation Babe. If anyone doesn't follow her, I highly recommend you follow her and listen to her podcast. Really, really valuable for someone who is trying to I suppose, dipped their toe into understanding a little bit more on spirituality and manifestation, on creating your own reality. I was skeptical. So the year before, I would have started to kind of believe a little bit. I would have started to practice manifestation slightly, but still would have had the doubt. Still would have been like, okay, but like just in case it goes wrong. So I had a very fucked up view of the world as well, that I never wanted to fully say I was happy or fully say what I wanted in life or whatever, because in case it didn't happen, or because I had a belief that literally like whenever you're happy, life's gonna throw something at you. So don't be too happy. Like, how fucked up is that? But anyways, I listened to her podcast, and she did a 1-year experiment where she decided to release the doubt, not be a skeptic, and really just believe. Just commit, be open-minded, explore new things just for 1 year. You're not going to lose anything. If anything, you're going to gain something from it. And she gave it a shot, and obviously she's now the Manifestation Babe on Instagram. She is a multi-million-dollar business. She is a queen. She's living life authentically, and she's just an all-round sound person, living the way that she wants to live it. And she's not one of these people you follow on Instagram that's stuck up their own hole. Very similar to myself. She ain't afraid to cuss on her podcast, on Instagram, whatever. Just real and authentic. So I really vibed with her, and I really liked how she came from a scientific background as well. She actually wanted to go and be a doctor as well at one stage, and then she decided to not do that. So I learned a lot from her, and I decided, fuck it. If we're going to do another year of this shit with lockdowns and all that crap, I'm just going to give it a bash and see what happens. Literally a month. So I started manifesting, actually. I started manifesting an apartment. I started manifesting that I was going to move out. I started manifesting that my business was going to take off. I started manifesting all these things. I started manifesting an apartment that was near where I lived along the seafront, and I just manifested my life. The sea air, beach runs. Not that I was doing running at that time. I think I started during lockdown, because who didn't start a run or bake fucking banana bread during lockdowns? But I just had these visions of like beach walks and really just being at the sea more often and looking out on my balcony and all that stuff. The apartments weren't just ready. They were going to be ready by, I think, January 1st, then February, then March, and it was just getting closer and closer to like me like losing the plot and needing to move out from my family home. No offense to my family, but it was time. Little did I know that in March on Paddy's Day that I was going to start looking into moving to Portugal. And I shit you not, the place that I picked out on Airbnb looked the exact same on the outside. The building was the exact same, colours, brickwork, everything, as that seafront apartment that I wanted. And that was like me like, oh damn, that's kind of a coincidence, but that's kind of a manifestation. But I was like, okay, we'll see what happens. And that's kind of how the year went for me, that I was starting to see things manifest, starting to see my desires come to life when they were coming from a true, authentic place. So when they weren't coming from an egotistical place, when they weren't coming from a place of me wanting to look good, or me wanting to prove myself, or me wanting to do things just because everyone else was doing them or because I felt I should. When it was an actual true desire, it was mine. When I actually truly believed that I was worthy of it, it was mine. I'm so fucking grateful to be where I am now. Manifesting moving to Bali and having my own business was a bigger manifestation that I started back in 2018 or something, and it was something that I didn't even believe was a possibility, because I was in a completely different career. I wasn't qualified in anything to do with nutrition or health. I didn't even know that what I'm doing now was a career move, because it was never an option on the fucking CAO. But it was always something that I just knew was going to happen, and here I am. I would have also listened to some manifestation books. So some of the common ones that people will listen to is Ask and It Is Given is one. I didn't really vibe with that book. It's based on your emotional state, okay? So with manifestation, a lot of people think it's about just how you think. Your thoughts are really important, because your thoughts can create your desires, and you can attract from a place of your thoughts. So you can be, to maybe even give it in realistic terms, so it's not about like money or attracting some sort of achievement or whatever. In a relationship, you could think that the person that you're in a relationship is going to hurt you. So you can start protecting yourself against them. You can start maybe doing behaviors that aren't necessarily open to them, so they might start to react to that, and then of course they end up hurting you. So that can be a way that I can talk about it in realistic terms. It doesn't all have to be shiny things. It doesn't have to be the spiritual side of manifestation, but it can be stuff that we can do ourselves. Okay, so it is very much linked to your thoughts. It is very much a neuroscience, an energetic thing, just as much as a psychological thing as well. Okay, so we have what's known as the reticular activating system. Okay, so this is your part of your brain that will delete or decide what information is for you. Okay, an example for me was I decided that I want a grey Hyundai i30 car for my first car. The year was 2013. Okay, and people said that's absolutely fucking impossible. You won't get that exact make in that exact colour in that exact year in good condition with low mileage. And I was like, it's the only one I want. It's all I want, and I'm gonna get it. And everyone thought it was crazy. I looked in a few places. It was my first car. It was literally my first car. I didn't have to look very far. I literally think I looked around about 5 cars. There was a few that I was kind of going to go for and pay for and settle for. And I always decided, no. People always said, this is probably the best one you're going to get. I got the one that I wanted. My college degree, the college degree course was the only one that I wanted to do. It was the only one that had biology, and like half of it, like I mentioned, was engineering and the kind of stuff that I wasn't interested in. I didn't really know that at the time, but it was the only one that stood out to me on the CAO points. So anyone that is not from Ireland, the CAO is just a system basically that when you finish your final exams in school, you basically apply through this system to get your college or your uni degree and enter college. So I decided that that was my only course that I wanted to do, and then I was shitting myself I wasn't going to get the points. I was shitting myself that I was going to get other courses that were on it that I didn't even want. And I was really advised to look. I wanted the college as well that was close to me, DCU, because I'm a lazy bitch. And I didn't want to make the trek to town or go over the south side. And everyone was like, why don't you look up the same college courses in the other college courses? And I was like, no, it's all I want. It's all I'm going to do. And I got that as well. So you need to, for you to believe in manifestation, you need to have proof or evidence. And pretty much a lot of it, because we're very negative as a society. I think I mentioned before as well that we are wired to seek negative things because it's danger and a way to protect ourselves, to keep ourselves safe, familiar, certain, and so on. So for me, throughout years of being in a belief system that spirituality and manifestation and anything that you couldn't logically prove with science, it was bullshit. Okay, so for me to move away from that, I needed years, like a good chunk of evidence of proof of my own experience that it was true. So other people could have told me, I could have listened to other people, yeah, maybe that's that, or maybe that's just a coincidence or whatever. But for me to actually believe it, I had to see it in the flesh. Okay, so that's what I'll say for you. If you're starting out on your manifestation journey, you have to believe it. You also have to believe it before you achieve it. Okay, you have to believe that you are worthy of it. You have to act like it is yours then and there. And that can also change how you are actually going to approach life, how you're actually going to seek opportunities in your environment. Okay, so you might start showing up in a way that is more confident, or you might start putting yourself forward for things more often because you're actually like, okay, well, if I do that, then I'm going to get this. So what I believe is with manifestation, it's not just you think about something and you get it. It's a co-creation process. Okay, so it's you do a bit of work, but you're also open to receiving things that aren't necessarily work. It's not all you just sit there and someone hands you 50 grand. Okay, that's not how it works. It's not just you sit there and your boss decides one day that you deserve a promotion. It just doesn't work like that. You need to be able to work for it. You need to be able to strengthen your mindset for it, but you also need to believe it. And there can be a lot of deep-rooted conditioning work that you need to do with that, and that's why I highly recommend journaling. I have a section in my journal and ebook you can find on my website www.thehealthcone.com, where it's all about manifestation and visualization and thinking about the person that you want to become. And this is where I encourage you to start using your intuition that little bit more. A lot of us make decisions from our mind rather than from our gut or our heart or on a soul level. Okay, and your intuition is something that is separate from your mind, separate from your ego, and that's the embodiment piece, what feels right for you in that moment. What I have learned over the last year and a half is that there's a lot of different spiritual concepts or things that you can kind of latch onto and identify with still within spirituality. So there's a thing called human design, where you can I suppose, tune into what way you make decisions. So for me, I'm a manifesting generator. I make decisions from my solar plexus, which means I am an emotional decision maker. So I need to be conscious of not making decisions when I'm in the height of emotion. I need to basically come back to a place of neutrality and clarity. So I ride the emotional wave. You might be someone that makes decisions very differently. It might have to be from a heart-centered place. It might have to be from a 3-2-1, like literally don't overthink it. What's your decision? And that's where you can kind of explore different elements of spirituality and get more connected with who you are at the core, at an identity level. I suppose what I've also learned is being open-minded to astrology or immunology or whatever you want to call it. I've also been more open-minded to Reiki. I've also obviously been more open-minded to meditation because I saw firsthand how it changed my life, how it changed my nervous system, how it changed my mindset, my thoughts, my inner world, without actually doing any trippy sort of meditations first. More recently I did a really beautiful breathwork session, and it was a really felt like a kind of a cycle of completion at the end of my journey here in Bali, and I got really emotional. But I've got a lotus tattoo on my arm. A lot of my tattoos are kind of spiritual meaning. So this one is no mud, no lotus. So lotus flowers have to grow through mud, darkness, and basically come to the top, to the light, and blossom as a beautiful flower. So I like meaning, I like creating things, I like the beauty in life. When I mentioned one of my arm flow, during lockdown 2020, I would have heard a quote that says, I relax, I let go, my life is in perfect flow. And that's when I tried to practice moving away from resistance and working on acceptance. And not in a toxic positivity way. So in the past, I would have really been focused on toxic positivity and suppressing my emotions and making light out of the situation. And the book, I was talking about the book Asking It Is Given. So basically that book can be really just change your emotional state, just change how you're feeling in that moment in time, and then you will manifest your desires. And that's not, I don't think that's really healthy. I don't think that's realistic as well. You need to honor your emotions and work through your emotions and process them so that you can actually naturally, gradually get to that place of feeling abundant, of feeling gratitude, of feeling love, of feeling joy. Then you can go up to a place of working on your vibration and your frequencies and all that beautiful stuff. But you can't just make your way there with toxic positivity sprinkled all on top, okay? Back to the breathwork. There's so many tangents because I actually could talk about this shit for days, but there's so many elements to it, and I feel like I'm only touching the surface. But when I was doing the breathwork session, essentially with breathwork, it is changing the chemical state of your breath. So you're inhaling and exhaling through the mouth. You're not doing it through your nostrils. And what can happen is you can reach a point where your fingers go into a claw shape and you can kind of be stuck like that. It's nothing to worry about. You can have instructors there that are supporting you and helping you through it. But what can happen is if you're really in your ego, if you're really resistant, if you're really suffering with something at that moment in time, it can be difficult for you to release and to actually get into that vibrational state where you're feeling enlightened, when you're feeling in flow, where you're feeling relaxed, okay? So the breathwork sessions I've done before, that was me. I'll talk about the one that I did in January in a second, but the one that I did there, that was my first breathwork session that I was able to open up. And when I opened up my fingers, I saw this vision of the lotus flower and it opening up, and me just after going through a big journey, a big cycle of completion, and really just feeling so fucking grateful that I obviously cried, I let out some emotions, and I just felt into that gratitude and how lucky I have been for having the journey that I've had over the last few months. My first 3 months here in Bali were not great. My last 2 months were fucking amazing, and I will remember them forever. So back in 2020, when I remembered that memory, I pretty much suppressed it for the majority of 2021. I tried to go to trauma therapy and try to work with someone and do somatic work and EMDR and all that kind of stuff, but me and that therapist just did not vibe. And that's what I'll say as well, is that if you are doing therapy, you need to make sure you connect with your therapist. You can keep trying therapists literally until you find one that you vibe with. I actually remember doing counselling with a counsellor after my toxic relationship ended, and she was so spiritual. She was talking to me about chakras, she was talking to me about energy, she was talking to me about all sorts, and I was like, this bitch is crazy, this bitch is fucking crazy. And so I know if people are listening to this and they're not that open-minded, yous are going to think I'm crazy, and I get it, I really do, I've been there, and that's okay. Everyone's on their own journey, everyone's open to things to a certain extent, and some people are open to everything at the full spectrum. So like even some of my friends here, or even some of the spiritual practitioners or teachers or whatever that I've met here, they can say some things that still to me, my ego can react and be like, don't believe that. That's not true. That's a coincidence. Blah, blah, blah. And that is your ego at the end of the day. Okay. And if that is you, if that is as much as you can, I suppose, believe into or be open to in this lifetime, that's okay. You don't need to force yourself to move through anything. Everyone's on their own journey in their own timeline. And like literally, like I said, that if I came to Bali maybe like 2 years ago, I probably would have been like, this place is fucking nuts. Like it's actually nuts. And now I am much more open to it because I have experienced different things. And I think I've experienced them incrementally at the right pace. So yeah, I was actually talking about the breathwork session. So when I did that breathwork session, I fainted during the breathwork session. So well, at the start, we're kind of walking around, moving our bodies a little bit more, getting connected, getting grounded in the space. And I just fainted out of nowhere. Absolutely out of nowhere, just fainted. And I was really shook and really like terrified because I was like, what the fuck just happened? I have been going through fainting episodes for the last 2 years, and that is based on the state of my nervous system because of trauma, okay? Couldn't understand it, couldn't understand what the fuck was going on in my body. Kept trying to explore through my health and through like hydration, through salts, through hormones, through whatever. And what I've learned it is about my nervous system and trauma, and really me not releasing stuff from my body from an energetic level as well. And I've had an amazing experience here working through that, but I had to do multiple different experiences to kind of work through that from, like I said, multiple different angles. That breathwork session was a breathwork session that I admitted to myself how fucked in the head I had been recently, and how everything had gotten on top of me. So I was really sick for quite a while during my first 2 months in Bali, and it was a real sign for me to work through a lot of things. Obviously I was suffering with Bali belly and stuff like that, but because of that mind gut connection, if you're in a state of trauma, if you're in a state of not looking after yourself or not feeling grounded or whatever, connected, that's going to affect your safety. And if you're feeling unsafe in your environment or in yourself, that's going to impact your gut-brain connection, which is going to impact your digestive system. So this is why I want you to understand that spirituality and mental health and trauma and everything impacts your physical health as well. And that's why I want you to be open-minded to it. And I have seen unexplainable things that some of my clients have done as well, of the releases that they've gotten and how they have shifted their bodies, their physical health. We've worked on quite a lot of things for a number of time, and it was when they did one meditation session or one breathwork session or one Reiki session that they got this release of something, and their health started to improve at the pace that it should have been. Because we can trap emotions, because we can suppress things, because we can hold our walls up so tight and not want to feel safe and grounded in our environment, or feel like we can't as well, okay? So when I went to Portugal last year, I would have started with Reiki. So I did a Reiki section actually when I was in Ireland at first, and I was like, bro, what the fuck was that? I remember feeling like pins and needles all through my legs, which was something that I have struggled with. So I'll explain the chakras, okay? So again, if you told me I'd be talking about chakras on a podcast, I'm like, this bitch needs to be checked in somewhere. But essentially we've got 7 chakras. We've got our root chakra, we've got our sacral chakra, which is around your womb, we've got our solar plexus, which is around your stomach, just above your belly button, we've got our heart chakra, which is around your chest, obviously, your throat chakra, your third eye chakra, and your crown chakra, okay? And each individual energetic center point, okay, that's what they are, gives you an opportunity to work through something. So just to give you the example of the grounded one for me, I found it really difficult to stay grounded for a prolonged period of time, and I thought it was because of my environment. So I moved to Portugal, and then I realized that it was actually my perception of my environment, okay, and how safe I felt in any environment and safe in myself. So with energetic set points, with Reiki sessions, they can actually help you move through those blockages and really release any stuck energy, or help bring energy and life back into them. So literally hover over your body. They don't need to touch you. They might touch you every so often, but literally like a tap. And if they don't have your permission, they won't do it. So I just highly recommend Reiki for anyone that hasn't done it before. It's really, really amazing. But the first time that she went over my legs, I had shooting pins and needles, and she was like, you literally have no energy in your legs. You're so in your head, you're so ungrounded, you're so stressed, you're so uneasy. And I was like, what is she talking about? Like, okay, whatever. Yeah, okay, thanks for the Reiki, bye. And then when I started to do Reiki with an amazing woman called Sylvia in Portugal, that was what continued to come up over our sessions. Now, there was other things about like heartache, and I needed to work through my heart chakra. I needed to work through my throat chakra because I wasn't voicing my opinions. I wasn't expressing or communicating my needs, and so on. But it continued to come up about grounding. My last Reiki session that I've done here with the wonderful Flo in Bali, she said that you are so grounded here in Bali that you actually might have issues releasing attachment to Bali when you leave. And I'm like, oh fuck, not again. But this is where you can understand yourself on an energetic level by working with someone. And Reiki is something that I was like, this is mad shit, like it's unexplainable, because again, you can't see energy, but this is where science hasn't caught up, okay? This is where you need to be open to magic, if you want. And I have started to become open to a little bit more magic, open to things that are unexplainable. And I think that was difficult for me at first because of that control, because of the state of my nervous system, because I wanted everything to be certain and me to be able to explain things. But now I've started to be humble enough and release my ego and understand that we don't need to explain everything that happens. Science has not caught up with everything, okay? In science, to measure something, to have a controlled experiment, or to explain something, you need the devices or the equipment to do that. So if we don't have the equipment to measure energy frequencies that move between our bodies, that move between a Reiki session, that happen from any sort of human contact, okay? Even if you think about, if you're in a room and your boss walks into a room, and if your boss is a raging dickhead, the energy shifts in the room, okay? Just think about that on a kind of a basic level. We don't have the tools to measure those energy frequencies and explain that just yet, okay? So this is where we can actually release the skepticism and release the doubt, but again, you have to experience that yourself. What's actually amazing is when I have gone to Reiki sessions, they can tell me so much about my body and about what's going on in my life, in my inner world, just by reading the energy of my body. Like literally, they know me. They know me. And at first, every time I went to anything like this, whether it was a tarot reading, a meditation, a breath work, a Reiki session, I would not tell them anything. If I was making an appointment, I would change my name on WhatsApp so that it was just Orla, they couldn't look me up. Like literally, I was going into it with like zilch, saying nothing. They was not giving them anything, just to see how full of shit that they were. That's where my mindset was at, okay? So when I do the Reiki sessions, like I remember one day that I came into the Reiki session and Sylvia said to me in Portugal, she said, whoa, you need to cry. She's like, I can just feel it, you need to cry. And I was like, what do you mean? Like I came in happy and smiling, and she's like, no, you need to cry. And I was like, oh, yeah. Like literally was all buzzy and smiley, like being like, I can't wait to do my Reiki and blah blah blah. I've also had some amazing things that they have told me, some amazing messages, and this probably brings me on to more spiritual side of things with angel numbers or seeing double digits, and that's where I think that started for me. And I've got my 1111 necklace on me today, and I suppose what we can see with numbers, they can be open to interpretation and they can have different meanings for you, but they can be messages or guidance that can support you or help you know that you're on the right path. So sometimes when I see 1111, it, like quite consistently, like I can see it on a car reg, can see it in when I'm doing shit with my client check-ins, when I'm seeing dates of births, when I'm seeing whatever, that can point me in the right direction and help me show that I'm aligned. When it's absence, I'm kind of like then there's different meanings of different numbers, and like I said, your number can mean something to you. Like during the first 3 months of Bali, I kept seeing the number 666, okay? And for people, that's the devil number, but on an angel number level, it's actually about your it's about your guides or your spirit fam trying to show you that you need to reassess your situation and kind of pause and think about what you're doing. And for me, that was really important looking back, because it was actually a red flag. It was like, bitch, you need to stop doing what you're doing, because you are literally continuing this cycle of trauma, and you need to give yourself the time and space and work through it, because I was suppressing it. I knew very fucking well what I was doing, but I just thought things were going to get better as I moved through illness, as I got more connected with people here in Bali, as I got more settled and so on. But I had to slow down. I had to pause the brakes. I didn't want to stop my momentum of my business was going great. I had to really give myself space to just process trauma and really do some counseling, really do some body work, go through all these deep emotional, painful experiences to come through the other side. And I'm in a much better place now. But recently I'm seeing the number 34 everywhere, and I don't know what it fucking means. So if anyone has any suggestions, let me know. I've had some, I suppose, interpretations of what it means, but they don't really resonate with me. So when I figure it out, I'll let y'all know. But yeah, we can essentially use these spiritual tools or practices to basically help us create our life and to develop ourselves and to heal from the past, okay? And I really do believe in healing from alternative therapies. Like I've said before, healing health is holistic. It really is taking things from all angles. It really is that middle ground. It's not one or the other. It is really connecting all these things that we know, whether it is traditional things that have been passed down through the years, whether it is a scientific research paper. We need to connect it all and understand that there is room for it all. Like, there is research being done on alternative medicines, plant medicines, on how they're offering people amazing breakthroughs from trauma, from PTSD, from mental health issues, and how science and a society, we're moving in the way of supporting those plant medicines, of supporting shrooms, ayahuasca, all this kind of amazing stuff that can help people have these breakthroughs that general medicine can't, that maybe therapy can't, because of our state of consciousness, okay? We have our subconscious and we have our conscious. Your subconscious is the place that you can act from on a daily basis, and it is a place where we have stored beliefs. Typically from the age of 0 to 7 we create our beliefs of the world, believe it or not. So you can have beliefs stored from the age of 6 years old that you're projecting onto the world today, that you're projecting onto relationships today. And it's these stories that you tell ourselves where you create a world where you're behaving like a victim, or you're feeling into your power and you're using your power, okay? Victimhood is not going to get you anywhere. Victimhood comes from ego. Victimhood comes from thinking the world is against me, from thinking bad things always happen to me, people are the enemy, don't let people in. And it's up to us to really work on our egos, to work on the subconscious stored beliefs that we have, so that we're not continuing to project our world, so that we can create a better life for ourselves, and that we can actually step into our power and step into our authentic selves. Not the self that the world told us who we should be, that told us who we are, the self that actually you want to be from a soul level, from a level where you feel at your highest self, that you are high vibing, you feel at peace in yourself, and you don't feel like you need to compete against others, you don't feel like you need to have your guard up against others, or people please, or put on a front, or put on a show. Just who you are at your true essence, at your true core. There is a quote that says, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you are right. And this brings in psychology and everything I just mentioned about subconscious mindset work. You could get coaching on all this stuff, you could journal on all this stuff, but it also brings in manifestation as well. If you think you're going to get that promotion, you have a very, very fucking strong chance of getting that promotion. Now, it might not go your way. Rejection can be redirection. It might not be your time. It might be a lesson that you need to work through something. So I love the phrase win or learn, that you actually can achieve that manifestation or that thing that you're working towards. Again, manifestation is being open to receive, being open to opportunities, but also working for something. So you can achieve that and you can win that, or you can say, okay, I'm going to accept this situation as it is, I'm going to take it as a little message from the universe or God or whatever it is that you believe in, and I'm going to try and work through whatever that lesson is, or I'm going to just take a little bit of time to take a step back because maybe there's something better coming my way, and understanding that life isn't against you, that life is working for you. And when we can kind of be a little bit more open-minded to that side, that way of living, we don't need to be so fucking pessimistic. We don't need to be so narcissistic. We don't need to be so ego-centered and feeling like we are fighting against the world, okay? We can actually come back to that centered place, what I mentioned about people feeling the community element and feeling that we can let our guards down, let people in, connect with people at a soul level. And if that's something that you feel you can't do in your hometown or where you're currently living, I highly recommend traveling, solo traveling especially, because you can move to a place and you can completely start fresh, and you can completely let those conditioning or those projections go. You can leave them at home, you can leave them in your country, okay? You can leave them in your hometown, whatever it is. They say that you are the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with, and that is so fucking true. If you surround yourself with people that inspire you, that lift you up, that make you feel good, that encourage you to go after what you want, of course you're going to believe in yourself. If you surround yourself with people that don't, that fill you with doubt, that tear you down, that tell you all the reasons why that's not going to work out, you're going to start fucking believing that too. You need to let go of the opinions of others. You need to let go of the fear of failure. You need to let go of the fear of rejection. And let me tell you, it's fucking hard. I'm still struggling with it sometimes. I'm still finding it show up in myself with maybe career moves or maybe with relationships, because we have stored beliefs from shit that happened to us. But by working through things holistically, on an energetic level, a spiritual level, a psychological level, an emotional level, a physical level, whatever it is, it's combining all these strategies together that can help you move forward in your life, that can help you feel you can get out of that rut, you can get off that hamster wheel and actually just move forward towards a person that is feeling peace, safe, calm in themselves, connected with themselves, feeling hope, feeling vitality, just enjoying life. I listened to a good reel yesterday. It was Mel Robbins, and she basically said, why are you waiting? Stop waiting. What are you waiting for? And I think what's really important is the conversation about death. In the context of, we all think that we have many, many years left. I mentioned in the previous podcast episode that unfortunately there was a girl I knew that died by suicide, and another girl that I knew died a few months later of cancer. Both the same age as me, and it shook me to the core. But it also made me realise that we are not guaranteed tomorrow, okay? We are all going about life thinking that we have 20 years, we've 30 years of working and kind of just getting by and saving for a mortgage and all this kind of shit. And this isn't to shit on anyone that is their goal and that's their dream in life. But if it's not, if you want to do life differently, stop waiting. Stop waiting for the time to be right. Stop waiting until you get approval from others. Stop waiting until you have enough money. Stop waiting until you're going to get someone to do that with you. You need to go after your life for you, because nobody's going to do it for you. We need to understand that the only thing that's certain in life is death. As morbid as that is, as depressing as that is, it's also something that can be very motivating, because literally, if you're living your life today the way that you think you should, because if it's going to get approval, because people are telling you to, because you want to fit into society, whatever, and you get a smack of a bus tomorrow, or you're paralyzed tomorrow, or whatever, you look back in your life and you say, Jesus, I really didn't fucking live that the way I wanted to. You will live life with regrets. So this is just a message for anyone. If you have some desires, if you have an intuition, a nudge, a feeling in your belly that something is different, something out there is waiting for you, that you want to do your life in a different way, fucking go for it. Because as scary as it is, there's a lot of magic, there's a lot of opportunity, there's a lot of things that are out there that you have no idea that are waiting there for you. That when you operate from a place of authenticity, love, peace, an actual human being that cares about other people and isn't just operating from a place of ego, life will surprise you. Okay, life really will surprise you. And the thing that is important about manifestation is that it's not important about the how. We always try to control the how, and we're like, okay, I want this, or I really see myself as this person, or living in this country, or this job, or whatever. But how do I get there? How do I make that happen? It doesn't matter. You just take one baby step at a time of inspired action, what feels intuitively right in that moment in time. Don't overthink it logically, because your brain will tell you different shit. Your brain will completely turn you off it. Just feel one step at a time. Be open-minded to things. Be open-minded to the course of your life changing. And that's where the magic is. That's really what spirituality in the context of manifestation is all about. Being open-minded to new opportunities and releasing control, releasing the ego, but also wanting to connect with people. There's obviously so much more to spirituality, and even I didn't scratch the surface, I don't think, about my definition of spirituality and my practices, my daily practices and all that good stuff. But I just wanted to share this topic today, and like I said, it was unscripted. It was just a bit of a flow. It was just me opening up your mind, hopefully, and helping you understand that there is logic, which we shouldn't be thinking about logic all the time, behind spirituality and manifestation and the magic in life. So yeah, I really hope that you enjoyed this episode. As always, I would love to hear your feedback in the review section. I would really appreciate if you could subscribe, and I would also really love if you could share this message to someone that you think might benefit from it, because that's what this podcast is all about. Starting conversations, opening up people's minds and spreading the word. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed. Thank you for listening, and see you in the next one.